podcast about all things NASCAR and sim racing. Join your hosts, Elliot, John, Mike, Matt, and Rick to review this weekend at the track.
Each week, they tackle events trackside, news, and of course, the rumor mill. Stay up to date each week by subscribing to The High Line. Brought to you by the iRacing Warrior Network.
So without further delay, move up to the High Line.
All right, welcome everybody to the Highline Podcast. I'm Rick Souza, and one of the broadcasters, as well as member of our broadcast team.
Yeah, everybody, welcome to the Highline. I'm Elliot.
Hey, everybody, I'm Michael Carpenter.
My name is John DeRudris. I'm a fellow broadcaster with Rick as well.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. And again, our podcast is titled The Highline, and we're here to give you pretty much what happens each week here on the IWM Broadcast Network, which broadcasts our Tech4Troops Cup Series, as well as what's happening daily in the world of NASCAR that we see as fans and as folks that like to tune in each week and stay up with what's happening and watch social media and different streams to figure out what's happening to who and when. So our first segment, we're going to talk a little bit about our sim racing series, Tech4Troops. This is our third season, and we just finished our second race of the season. It was at Daytona. We had 41 entries and 11 teams competing for a championship.
Yeah, Rick, the second race of the year, we had 38 entries in race one, so was really happy to see 41 in race two. We had a couple guys that dropped off from race one, but obviously we picked up more than dropped off. The race itself was about all we could have asked for. It was very exciting. We only had 6 cautions. And just great racing throughout.
Yeah, I think when we first, as John and I in the booth were discussing it, we were preparing ourselves for a lot of cautions. With that many entries, you just don't know. There's technical difficulties. There's guys that just haven't been in that size of a draft before, so things can happen. But instead, we were given this amazing green flag run.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Just from the get-go, you had a big break in the field at the start of the race, which you typically don't see at super speedways. But what we saw are really, really almost 4 to 5 different distinct packs formed off of the restart, or I guess the start of the race, the drop of the green flag, that helped that long green flag run go. So it was, from a broadcaster's perspective, Rick, I don't know about you, but I thought it was extremely entertaining because we were trying to cover multiple different packs, trying to figure out who was moving where. And at that point, the strategy was everything in the race.
Yeah, the race ended up being, we did have a late caution that kind of brought everybody back, but the field was set by everybody's pit strategies and fuel strategy. And going back to the beginning of the race there, I think everybody was just trying to take it easy, and some people were trying to drop to the back. And so that kind of facilitated the falling apart of the big pack, if you will, at the beginning of the race.
So when it was all said and done, race results, Harley Barletta was our winner. Ian Ogden was in second, and Christoph Hall, which is a new name for our Tech4Troops series, finished in third.
Yeah, let me give real quick Christoph a shout out. He finished third. His whole team did really good for the most part, the whole race. And then his 2 teammates, he might have more than 2, but the 2 that ran up front with him, they ended up kind of falling out due to those late cautions. But his whole team ran real well for 75% of the race.
All right. And as we've started, as our tradition, we've invited our race winner to join us to talk a little bit about the race itself, but also about him and how he got started and what we do, and certainly to give his perspective. And we'd like to introduce and welcome Harley Barletta to the broadcast studio.
Hey, how's it going tonight, fellas?
It's going great, Harley. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, Harley, let me ask you. I always see you in in the league races that I've watched you run and listening to you in Discord and over the chat, you always seem like a quiet guy, and you always seem to run somewhere in the top 10, but maybe not necessarily 1, 2, 3. But then towards the end of the race, you do a good job of finding your way up there. And to be honest with you, as I think back to the Daytona race, it seemed like that's kind of how you ran that one. Can you tell us how your race went? How you ended up front at the end?
Yeah, that's kind of how it went. So we as a team, as Average Joe Motorsports, we had all planned on just like finding each other real early. I tried to qualify up front just so I could get out front, get some bonus points, but then that didn't end up working. So qualified 10th, just kind of dropped back to where the rest of the team was. And if you noticed, every team did that, which is why we split into 4 or 5 separate groups there. I think everyone was just trying to find each other. There was a couple of teams working together, and it was better to start the race that way than it was to just go full bore and be wrecking.
Yeah, and that certainly played into a lot of what we saw in those first green flag laps where the pack broke apart. It was safe. People ran still. You were running side by side, but it wasn't 3 wide into every corner.
Yeah, no, there's no way we would have been running like that early. I think all the teams had the same idea. We all got together and just kind of chilled out for a little while there until we got that first caution, and then things started to heat up a little bit.
Yeah, just from what we saw as the race began to wind down, as the end began to get real, as we approached the final 20 or so laps, you saw some of that aggressiveness to try and find some additional places to move farther up in the running, and we had a few late cautions, but for the most part, super race to watch. It was hard to separate Rick the broadcaster from Rick the spectator because it was such a fun race to watch.
Yeah, I think right around that lap 61 caution is when I had made up my mind I was going to start moving forward there. I didn't really communicate with my teammates, but we started inching, and that's when all those cautions started happening. And it was like 4 or 5 or 6, like right in a row almost. And right. just kind of inched up through that until we finally cycled to the lead, and we got Ian behind us, which was really good help. We ran around with him for a little bit there. Then that last stop was like, we hit that perfect. We came in side by side, and then we cycled out with another group, which was like four or 5 cars behind us, which really helped us like stretch that lead out. So I think we had like 9 seconds there at the end on 4th place.
Right, and that was impressive. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh yeah, Harley, it's always fun watching you all of you guys race, and kind of like Elliot said, you're always there at the end. We all, especially on tracks where there's tire conservation, you seem to be one of the best ones out there at that. It's fun watching you do that. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, where are you from? Like, how you got into iRacing. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm from Rochester, New York. I've been on iRacing since 2012, I guess, realistically, but I quit in 2013, had a nice 8-year hiatus, and then they started doing it on TV during COVID, and I was like, well, I'm probably going to get back into this, and then I did. Joined a couple leagues instead of running officials, because we all know how that can be sometimes. And I ended up finding myself here, which is a great group of people. I came from another league, which was another great group of people, but they were racing a little earlier. So I decided I'll look for something a little later. I found you guys before I quit, and I ran like 4 races in season 1, and it was like, I think got 3 wins, and I was like, ooh.
So
should I stay here, or should I like look around a little more? I didn't want to come off as too good. But then,
so did you join towards the end of season 1 then?
It was before the season. I had contacted you because I'd run a recruitment race. You were like, oh man, come join the league or whatever. And I was like, I can't run full time right now because I got another league and blah, blah, blah. But I ran 4 races, and I think it was more towards the end of the season. I think I ran Michigan early in the season, and then it took a while for the other 4 to come up.
I want to say that conversation sounds slightly But yeah, I don't remember that. That's okay.
Well, it was a message on iRacing. And you're like, oh, I got to check these more.
So you said you first joined the iRacing platform in 2012. Something tells me you're not 65 years old. So were you pretty young back then when you started?
I'd say around the early 20s, probably between 19 and 21. I don't really remember. I don't feel like doing math right now.
Well, I get to ask some of the important stuff. Who's your favorite NASCAR driver, former or present?
You're gonna hate this, but
Don't say Chase Elliott.
No, stop! Don't interrupt me. No, full on. I'm Dale Earnhardt fan. I've been an Earnhardt fan forever, but after Junior quit, I had to take Chase Elliott because for whatever reason, I like to go with the legacies, and I'm okay with that.
Elliott loves Chase Elliott fans. He loves them.
I am the greatest Chase Elliott fan you'll ever know. I have no merchandise.
You're a diehard. You
just watch paint dry for fun, right? That's enjoyable. Just watch them paint.
I guess, but I mean, they wrap the cars now, so you can't even watch that.
Well, I love the Dale Earnhardt part, but I don't know about the Chase Elliott thing.
Earnhardt fan for life, baby.
Harley, how did you get associated with Average Joe's?
So when I ran those first 4 races, for whatever reason, I'm looking through the Discord channels and I'm like, who am I going to hang out with? I don't want too many people. I don't want too little people. And it seemed to be perfect. Just like there's 3 people in Average Joe's Discord. So I was like, I'm going to just bop in here. They welcomed me with open arms after the first or second race. And they're like, you can stay in here as long as you want.
Oh, nice.
So was that John and Chris at the time?
Yeah, it was John and Chris, and I think they had planned on taking Travis in, but I'm not sure about the timeline on that.
Well, it's definitely worked out for you. One of the new things we're doing this year is the team championship. I don't think anybody on your team had a good finish in race 1, but y'all really had good finishes in race 2, obviously, with you winning the race, and Ian finished in second. I don't know if you're part of AJM1 or AJM2 the way we split them up, but you guys have moved up to second and third in that for that award right now. But we got a long way to go. But there's a good move up from race 1, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So AJM1 and AJM2, the AJM1 team is all the Toyotas, and AJM2 is the Camrys, the Camaros.
I'll try to remember that. I've got it written down. I obviously have to look at it, but okay. AJM1 is the Toyotas. Is that what you said?
Correct.
Okay.
What's funny about that is we were actually worried coming right before, a couple months before the season, because we were short 2 people, and we weren't really sure what we were going to do because we didn't want to leave one guy hanging or 2 guys hanging. So I found Man, and we got him on the team, and then we picked up Austin Hable because I saw him sitting in the Discord, and I'm like, I've raced with you before. I'm going to try and bring you in here. And that ended up making it 6, and it's worked out so good so far.
So I know William. I was going to say I know William raced with us last year. Is Austin? So he's brand new to the team then?
Yeah, Austin's brand new. He's just been lingering in the Discord. I invited him at the end of season 1, right before we started season 2, and he just kind of was stagnant there. And I was like, hey, are you going to race or not? He's like, I've been busy. And I was like, well, if you come join our team, it might be good. And he did that, and I don't know. Well,
your team, yourself and your team included, obviously had a good race. We're gonna talk about the Cup Series moving forward and do our little clear, not clear thing. If you'll stick with us, we'd love to have you stay here and be a part of that.
Most definitely. I'm here for it all.
All right, on to our NASCAR week recap. So this week, the Xfinity group was off, and the Cup Series and Truck Series at Kansas, and that's probably one of the best NASCAR races I've seen so far this season.
It was. There were tons of passes, but you mentioned the truck race. I love the truck race, and I really do. I wish it was a little more I don't want to say competitive. I don't know if that's the right word. But the thing I remember from the race this past weekend was how not fast Kyle Busch was.
Right. For once in the Truck Series, Kyle Busch isn't fast. It was kind of, I don't want to say it was good to see, but Kyle is going to be Kyle. He's going to run. He has his teams, all that fun stuff. But I agree that the Truck Series is very fun to watch because of the amount of, just clean, hard racing that there is. That's what I like about the Truck Series so much, especially when you get all these 1.5 miles. You could have really good racing for a lot of the different guys. You have Zane Smith, obviously, one of the better drivers there. But I love the Truck Series. I think it's a great one to watch.
Well, the thing that Michael loves so much, the stage breaks. For me, that's what ruins the Truck Series, because usually the first stage, you're just running around waiting for the stage break. You don't have to do a pit stop.
Right.
I mean, I guess if you start in the back, you're trying to make your way forward, but
yeah, the race is too short for that. Like, really is.
Yeah, I think I've said it every week here. I think it's no secret that pay the stage points, keep racing. The stopping it kills races.
I just see the Truck Series, the talent begins to taper off rather quickly.
Well, it's because of the way the sponsorship works and all that stuff, and we don't have to go.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
But anyway, what happened at the Cup Series, Rick?
Well, Kansas, it was a hot track, air temperature in the 90s, so that made for a blistering hot track itself. 37 lead changes among 12 drivers. That was a record for the event. Lots of drama and things happening. Initially, you saw, if you were watching that race, there was an early lap 5 contact with Reddick and Larson. He spun Larson out. And then at the end, there was a last lap where Denny Hamlin came back and possibly stole the win from Kyle Larson. If you listen to Denny's podcast, he described it as using dragon's breath to move him out of the way.
Yeah, so I missed that. I didn't get to hear that today. What the heck is he talking about?
Yeah, he was just making light of the fact that he barely touched him. That it wasn't, egregious or hard contact. He just used the term dragon's breath as the very, very light contact as Kyle came off the wall. I think that's what he meant by that.
Well, I think for that matter, if you watched it, I mean, Kyle was extremely wobbly through those last couple laps. He was really driving the heck out of that car.
Yeah, he was.
And it didn't take much for Denny to move him out of the way.
He was real loose in 1 and 2, and if my memory serves me correct, down the back stretches where Denny got to him and moved.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I've grown to be such a Larson fan. Obviously, Blaney's my guy, but my second guy I want to see do well is Larson. He just absolutely drives the piss out of a race car. It is unbelievable the things he could do. Those last 15 laps, I mean, there's probably not 10 guys in that series that could have held onto that car and kept it as fast to maintain the lead like he did. I mean, he was wrecking loose for those last 15 laps, and to do what he did with Denny bearing down on him just shows what kind of talent he's got.
Yeah, and especially is due to the fact that he is a dirt track racer, and you saw a lot of that dirt track instinct kick in when he was running that high line. And I think that's, like you said, Mike, there's not many drivers in the Cup Series that could do that. I mean, you have Reddick, you probably have Christopher Bell that can do it. But Bowman has experience, obviously not in the Cup Series right now, just recovering from that injury. But it is so fun watching Larson race because of the way he can manipulate the car to do what he wants in conditions that are not ideal. And you could tell, I mean, he was loose as those last 10, 15 laps. And like you said, if it was anybody else, they would have been into the wall. Denny would have brought home an easy win.
So that's Gibbs 2 weeks in a row. And we're headed to Darlington, which has always been a good track for them as well.
Let me just say, I hate Darlington. I don't know why, but I do. I always have.
Yeah, I'd say Joe Gibbs Racing is going to have another good weekend. Denny is always really good there. Truex is good there. I don't really remember Bell's history there, but I know Denny and Martin are really good at Darlington.
So a couple post-race things occurred at Kansas. One that's getting the most publicity that we'll talk about in another segment in this podcast was the post-race confrontation between Chastain and Gregson after Noah accused him of fencing him. And there was also some comments from Kyle Busch about Chastain and contact there, which is possibly setting up for future drama.
Yeah, I'm usually the first one to pile on Ross. Everybody knows how I feel about him as well. But the deal with Noah, I mean, he didn't cut him any slack. But I didn't think he ran him into the fence like Noah. And I think Noah's just got some lingering feelings over Talladega and everybody else in the garage just being upset with him. But I personally didn't see it as he ran him into the fence. I don't know what you guys saw there.
Yeah, Noah's frustration and also who Noah is as a driver is why that resulted in the way that it did after the race. I kind of agree. I mean, Ross, gave him very little room, but still I think with Noah's driving ability could have been able to do that. But I don't know if you all saw this, but I saw a clip where it was after the incident on pit road with Chastain and Gregson. You saw Chase Elliott walk by and he says, well, somebody had to do it. So it's not just, the rookies. It's not just, the drivers that are in Kyle Larson, in Ross Chastain's way. I mean, for Chase Elliott to say that, that's a pretty big statement for somebody of that driver or of that caliber to say that to Gregson.
It is, but at the same time, and that goes by, that's part of what I get so frustrated about with the whole Chastain situation. Everybody in that garage seems to have the same problem, but nobody will step up and say anything. And
Right.
then and I've said this before too, and equally as guilty on Ross's side, he races the way he races, but then he jumps out of a car and acts like he's sorry for it. Just own it. And for the other guys, if you really have a problem with it, show it.
Yeah, like Noah did.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and from what I saw, Noah's had a hard rookie season. He's in equipment that is not the best equipment that's out there. And, he's one of two rookies and he's not placed well.
No, and to go back to, I was going to say to go back to Cardboard Elliott, and that's Chase's nickname, not my nickname. Especially after seeing what transpired between Noah and Ross, Chase isn't going to do anything. Never will. He doesn't want any of that. Sorry.
No, he doesn't. But he doesn't. But Rick, you were absolutely right about Noah. He's very frustrated with the performance so far this season. He come out of Junior Motorsports, just winning races and always being up front. And you talk about the inferior equipment and his frustration. He better buckle up because, with the news that they're going to Toyota, any kind of information that they were ever going to get from Chevrolet is gone. It's going to be a tough road to hoe for the rest of this season anyway.
Yeah, but
they're not going to be sharing any information.
Exactly. But on the flip side of that is, with as good as Toyota has been, I think that they could be in a really good spot going into 2024 because of what we've seen with the surgence of 2311, with how good Joe Gibbs has been recently, and the fact that, Joe Gibbs may not have, they've won the last two, but it always seems somebody in that Toyota field is near the front at some point in time, whether it's Bubba at super speedways, whether it's Hamlin at mile and a halves, Christopher Bell and Martin Truex at short tracks. They're in really good company going into the next year. So I think that, I guess not Petty GMS anymore. I guess it's Legacy Motor Club. I think they're going to be in really good shape going into 24.
Oh, I completely agree. I think Toyota's has a resurgence, especially this year.
Especially with the lower amount of cars they have on track too. So you add two more, so now you have 8 cars out there. But it's way less than having a bunch of Chevys or a bunch of Fords. So they might be able to get better product for less money.
All right, so off to Darlington. It may not be Elliot's favorite track, but it's a throwback track. It has all that NASCAR history. It's a crazy track to drive.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good race. Another race, and as a lot of people talked about, with that should experience some tire fall off. I expect it to be warmer there. So I think we're going to have a lot of good racing, and it's going to come on the heels of a great race, as you mentioned earlier, at Kansas, and then everybody with the anticipation of what Wilkesboro is going to be. So I think it's going to be a pretty exciting stretch here for the next few weeks.
I do too.
I hope Darlington's a good race next week, but what they should do is what Kyle Petty told them to do 30 years ago. Fill it up with water, put some bass in it, turn it into a pay lake.
You really don't like it.
He hates it.
I mean, as somebody who's been on iRacing for close to as long as Harley without the break, I used to hate Darlington too, to be completely transparent. I used to hate it. I couldn't figure it out. But as of late, I've come to, that's actually one of my favorite tracks outside of either Talladega or Bristol or Nashville. I love the racing at Darlington because it's a true driver's track, and you have to change your mentality going into every corner, knowing that the tire wear is not going to be the same. So you have to drive almost every single corner different. Where like it's like at a Kansas or a Charlotte, you could have a little bit more consistency. But at Darlington, you have to be on your toes at all point in times, because at some point that car could snap on you out of nowhere, and you've been driving the same line all race, and it takes the slightest little bit to change. So I love Darlington. I'm on the complete opposite side of you. I hope they don't make it into a bathtub or a swimming pool.
And if you're not careful, that wall will grab you and will hold you for a long time.
It will.
And then when it spits you out, you're going to go right across the field.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I mean, we saw this last year with Logano and Byron, and it's going to happen this year. I'll call my shot right now. Ross Chastain's probably going to put somebody in the wall going out of 2. It's going to happen. Who is it going to be? I don't know. Is Ross going to get retaliated on? Yes. It's going to happen this race. But I think it's going to be a great one because of the way that the racing has been this year so far. And like you mentioned, Mike, the tire fall off is going to be pretty significant. So you're going to see some slipping and sliding and some not so happy drivers after the race.
Well, I think Goodyear's finally figured out the right compound to still provide stability, not tearing tires apart, but, allowing some wear that makes it fun to race. If you listen to the chatter on the, in-car radios, the crew chiefs were all about, they were planning whether they had a set of scuffs in the back, how many sets they had to go with. There was a lot of planning that they were looking at when it came to tire wear. Okay, also of special note is that at Darlington, we're going to see Ryan Newman returning to racing as part of the Rick Ware Racing team as he substitutes for Cody Ware. I don't know what that's going to bring. Any opinions?
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to see these guys come back and race, guys that I grew up watching. I'm just not really sure what Ryan Newman's going to get out of jumping in that particular type of race car. I mean, he's going to run in the back. He's not going to make any noise. The car, that it's just riding around in junk. I just don't understand why guys like Ryan Newman would want to do that.
Yeah, I saw him post on social media that he wanted to have fun, and he said, well, if we're not going to have fun, we're not going to do this. So it could just be one race for him, because, I mean, I expect him to be, 35th. So no offense to him.
Yeah, although there was some blurb from Rick Ware Racing that it was going to be for there are more races to come. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think they listed 4 races. I don't remember what they are.
Yeah, they listed a few I mean, it's going to be cool because it's throwback weekend, they're throwing it back to a driver that was in the series. So I think it's good. Is he going to be competitive? No. Like you said, Rick and Mike and everybody, he's in a Rick Ware Racing car. And so my question is, and this is a question that I've thought about because of this, what does this precedent set for NASCAR when it comes to bringing previous drivers back into the series, because it's not like they don't have enough spots. There can be teams that can just come out of kind of the woodworks and bring on a driver like a Ryan Newman. So the question is, does this poise other retired drivers coming out of retirement to do one-off races, specifically at a Darlington throwback weekend?
I hope that happens. I mean, I think it would be fun to see. Of course, I don't know what kind of good rides they're going to get. These guys are prideful, okay? They're not – go have fun. They're not going to want to run out and run in 35th place. So you get somebody like maybe Boyer. I'd love to see Kurt Busch come back if he could get cleared.
Yeah. And, what we're seeing is that, those rides are opening up because of injury or incident. It's not just there's an extra charter hanging around. Although what Trackhouse has one for the 91 car, but there's not a lot of, spare opportunity there, week after week.
Now, is that 91 car, is it a chartered number or is it just a one-off?
It is not chartered.
Okay. But, I mean, that's good. That's good equipment if they want to put somebody in it.
Yeah, we saw what Raikkonen did. I mean, he was running, well, you were saying, Carp, with what they've done with that team, it's good equipment. And we saw Kimi Raikkonen up in the front because of strategy at COTA. So it's not like the car isn't good, and it's not like they can't find the talent for it. We've seen that team, have that car available. I think it could be a potential for the future for some of these bigger teams to have that extra slot just in case they want to throw somebody in it, like a Raikkonen, or they bring in Jenson Button or somebody like Ryan Newman, for I guess, Rick Rick's a different situation. But I think the possibilities there for these drivers to and these teams to have that extra spot ready to go.
All right, on to some other news of special note. The entry list for the Cars Tour late model stocks for North Wilkesboro has been announced. During the All-Star Week, they will run on May 17th. And besides the top 26, there are some special provisional entries. Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be running, as well as Kevin Harvick, Daniel Suarez, Ross Chastain, Chase Briscoe, Brad Keselowski. In fact, there's one more slot open that they have not announced who will be in. So that should be very interesting. And, of course, that's going to be on Flow Racing. I'm sure we'll see clips of that on other platforms. But I'd love to watch that.
Yeah, if Wilkesboro wasn't such a nightmare to get in and out of, it's not far from me. It's about an hour and a half from where I live. I would love to go down there and watch the Cars Tour races. I'd like to go to the whole thing, but yeah, I'd love to go watch about the whole thing. But I mean, it's going to be a good week for sure for NASCAR.
To our segment 3. This is Clear, Not Clear. Last lap battle between Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin. Denny's dragon breath moves Larson out of the way. Elliot, clear, not clear?
Clear. No problem with it whatsoever. That's Rubbin's racing. That's what he's supposed to do. I'd have been disappointed if he did anything different. And Kyle didn't seem too upset about it. He knew it was coming. And really, Denny should have won the race, and he did.
Yeah, I'm clear. Denny Hamlin was the best car just about all day. I know he got into Larson, and like I said earlier, I'm a Larson guy, but I didn't think that was egregious. I didn't think it was over the line. I thought it was just good, hard racing between the two of them. Been fun if they could have raced it back to the line, but Larson came off the wall down into Denny. So, I mean, it kind of is what it is, but I'm definitely clear on that.
Yeah, I'm clear as well. I think it's just a racing deal and nothing egregious about it. I mean, Larson was loose as you know what on those last 5, 10, 15 laps. So, yeah, I say clear.
Most definitely clear there. I mean, it's the last lap. You got to get what you can. Larson definitely bounced off the wall there. And, like, if you're Hamlin, you got to crowd him. So, like, if he comes down, you're going to make contact. I don't see anything wrong with it at all. It's hard racing.
All right, same for me. I believe it was just work. I'm clear. I think it was just part of racing, and good with that. All right, another week and another Chastain controversy. Not just one, but there was contact with Kyle Busch. There was contact with Gregson, and probably a few others during the course of the race. But thoughts? Clear? Not clear?
Well, I'm going to combine these, Rick. I know we're talking about Ross squeezing Noah, but so Ross squeezes Noah into the wall coming off turn 4. And then, of course, Noah confronts Ross afterwards. As far as squeezing him into the wall, I guess if I have to say it, I'm not clear. Ross squeezed him into the wall. But if my memory serves me correct, Gregson was 2 laps down. And so, what's he doing? I don't know. He should. Well, we'll move on to the next part. But I'm not clear. Ross shouldn't have squeezed him into the wall.
I believe it or not, I'm clear on that particular incident. I didn't see it that way. I thought Ross gave Noah a lane. Noah wasn't exactly real stable with his car coming off of 4, and he bounced off the wall also, which kind of caused a lot of that. Ross didn't give him any room. Okay, so I'm not saying that he's completely innocent on the deal, but I didn't see it as he squeezed him into the wall.
Well, it was a mirror. It was a mirror image of what happened between Bubba and Kyle last year. It was the exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, he just didn't give him any room. I didn't feel like he pushed him up or forced him that way. He just didn't give him any room at all. At least that's how I saw it. But as far as that incident, I'm clear. I don't see that Ross could have gave him room, but I don't think he raced him dirty there.
Yeah, I'm actually watching the clip right now, and Noah had room. I mean, Ross pinched up a little bit on like 3/4 exit, but Ross gave him enough room. It's not like Ross completely pushed him into the outside wall with nowhere to go. I'm going to say clear on this one, and I do believe that a lot of that anger just took place because of what happened at Talladega as well. I mean, getting turned when you have a chance to win, like Noah did. Noah had a great chance to win at Talladega, and you get turned into the wall. It's not very fun. So I say clear.
But wait a minute. Talladega was Noah's fault. Noah tried to close a hole that was no longer there.
Yes.
I agree with this. That is what happened.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct. And that was Noah's fault. And I remember I did say Noah was not clear. I'm just saying his anger is spilling over because of him just in general wrecking, not the fact that it was or was not his fault. It was the fact that he got wrecked that race, and it was involving Ross, even though it wasn't Ross's fault. It probably just boils over.
And I'm definitely clear on this. Like, Chastain gave him 1 lane and 1 lane only. And with the drag in these cars, you get on that rear quarter panel and it will just stop any car with any side draft. Is going to stop any car. And when you crowd him like that, I mean, he didn't hit him. He didn't door him. So that's just racing. I think he's fine with that. I'm clear.
So I have a slightly different take on it. So I am completely clear in what Chastain did. I get it completely. I think this was a young guy, rookie. He's hearing all this chatter going on, social media. Obviously, he's a driver. He's hearing it in the garage. He's hearing it from his friends. Chastain. He's had contact with this driver. He winds up in the wall, and immediately he uses it as an excuse. He has an opportunity to do something that others haven't, and so then he confronts him. He knew that what happened to him wasn't really a big deal, but I think he just used it as an opportunity to try and confront Chastain. Unfortunately, Chastain got the better of him, but still, he confronted him, which was more than anybody else had done to date. And, NASCAR didn't even level a penalty against either of them. It just became boys will be boys, and they let it go. So that's my opinion. I'm completely clear on what happened. It's all good.
Yeah, so I'll ask myself the next one. So Noah confronts Ross afterwards, decides to grab Ross's fire suit and kind of give him a shove. And if you listen to the video, the second video, not the first one that they showed, you can hear Ross say 3 times, "Stop," or "Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it," and then he just clocks him. And Noah, you're right. Noah's trying to be Mr. He's Mr. Marketing, and this is my opportunity. And this one is not going to work for him as far as that goes, if that's what he's trying to do. This made Ross look good, in my opinion. I was clear on the punch. I love what Ross said. Some big guy once at Trackhouse told him we have a no shove policy. So basically it means don't take no shit, and he didn't. And I want to say one more thing. Dale Jr. backed me up with his words this week with what I said last week. I've got the quote here in front of me. Dale Jr. said, "I'm not saying Ross is the new senior. I'm saying NASCAR and Trackhouse have a chance to capitalize on the attention in a similar way that they did back in the 80s and 90s with Earnhardt Sr." And if you listen to the audio clip, he actually goes and says a little more than that. So I'm clear on Ross jacking Noah's jaw, and not clear on Noah. He's lost with what he's trying to do right here.
Rick and I were actually talking about that exact same thing earlier. I haven't listened to the download this week, so I hadn't heard what you were talking about. But Ross, if he will play his cards right, and Trackhouse will play their cards right, if they will stop with this apologize and stuff and just own what he does, they are on a marketing and a PR bomb waiting to explode in a good way for the sport and for Ross and Trackhouse. So I'm with you 1,000% on that. As far as the punch goes, I'm clear for him, Jack and Noah. You put your hands on somebody, you need to expect that's going to happen. If Noah really wanted to do something, he should have walked up to him and threw a punch. I'm not clear for the security guys stepping in like that. I'm not saying that they need to let him have a free for all. At all. And I'm not for the hockey style fight either that a lot of people have suggested. But if the crew members are staying out of that thing, and that thing, let it play out a minute and see what's going to happen. Because Noah was ready to throw one back. I'd have liked to see what was going to happen. But that was just a stupid move on his part.
Yeah, I agree. I'm right there.
Yeah, it certainly was about to escalate. So.
It was going to escalate, and the security guard stepped into play. And I'm right there as well. From a marketing perspective, they are sitting on a gold mine. They're just slowly mining away all this gold that's under Ross Chastain, and it's gonna happen at some point. Like it's already in the works, and we could see it. And I agree with Ross. I mean, don't take anything. I mean, if a driver walks up to you and you tell him no 3 times, I mean, clock him. And if anybody who's out there says it's a weak punch, I would dare you to go listen to the close-up behind Ross where you could hear that from a mile away. I mean, completely connected, better than anything that Logan Paul's ever thrown. So it was a good thing for NASCAR, I think.
So speaking of Noah, is there a mad rush to the barber to get that bowl haircut?
I'm all for it. I'll do it tonight and post it in the Discord if y'all want.
I will pay for that barber bill, bud.
I'll do it myself. It won't be a barber bill, but you can still pay me. That's fine.
Before we do that, Harley, I want to know what you think about the punch.
I think the punch was great. So I'm definitely not clear for the way Noah approached Chastain. So Noah goes up on him. He grabs him first off. And as he grabs him with the left hand, you can see Chastain grab his right hand with his left hand. So now Noah is defenseless. And as Ross is just saying, hey, just stop. he pushes him like 3 times, and it's like, it's you already said it enough. I got a hand-free smack. I'm definitely not clear on Noah's approach, but definitely Chastain. Yeah, this is from a PR standpoint and marketing. This is great for everyone. Absolutely everyone. Totally clear for that.
Yes, he's the melanator.
He's a melanator.
I mean, if you're gonna embody the black hat, wear it. I mean, I'm all for it.
I guess you could consider that was a watermelon punch.
I guess.
I like that one too.
It was a watermelon punch.
And you can have that T-shirt on couchracer.com.
All right. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in to our podcast tonight. For Harley, for joining us here on the Highline. Certainly appreciate you tuning in. I mean, you participating.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me. Hopefully we can be in the booth at Nashville and get to talk to you again.
So as Harley indicated, that the Tech4Troops Series heads to Nashville Superspeedway tonight for the Music City 240. That will be starting at 8:30 Eastern Time on the IWM Broadcast Network. You can find that on YouTube if you search for IWM Broadcast Network. You can also find us on Facebook and on Twitch and any number of other streaming platforms. So we appreciate you tuning in, guys.
Well, I just want to say thanks to Harley for joining us, and thanks everybody for listening, and have a good night.
Yeah, same, Harley. I really appreciate you coming in with us. As always, it's a pleasure watching you out there do your thing, man.
Yeah, it's been fun watching you, Harley, up in the booth. You finally got that win and going to carry that momentum that you didn't have last season. I mean, this is the big hurdle that y'all had to get through last season, and now you got it early on. So, same, I'm excited to call some races and excited to call the race tonight with you. On the track.
I appreciate that, fellas. Hopefully it's going to be a good rest of the season. We can only hope, right?
We hope so too. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.